Welcome to Hero Villains. Thank you for always watching and supporting the channel. In your opinion, Aries versus Gorr, the clash of the god of war and the god of butcher, who will win? Aries, the god of Olympus, is the embodiment of pure war and violence. His physical strength far surpasses that of most warriors, enough to match and sometimes overwhelm even the top heroes of the Avengers. Aries possesses superhuman battlefield reflexes, near infinite resistance to damage, and ancient fighting skills honed over millennia. In addition, he wields magical weapons from Olympus, especially the divine sword and axe that can penetrate almost any defense. Gorr the God Butcher, infamous for his mission to destroy all gods in the universe. Gorr wields All-Black the Necrosword, a living weapon created from the power of Knull, giving him godlike power beyond most beings. The Necrosword not only enhances his strength, speed, and healing to an incredible degree, but also allows Gorr to create countless dark beings to fight alongside him. He has confronted and defeated many powerful gods, even challenging Thor at his strongest. Gorr fights with absolute hatred, fearless, uncompromising, and willing to destroy everything to achieve his goal of destroying the gods. Before we dive into the analysis, please click the subscribe button and remember to turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thank you very much. Ares, the god of war in Greek mythology, has always been portrayed as a symbol of raw power and uncompromising ferocity, with the smell of blood and the sound of steel hitting steel. Unlike Athena, the goddess of strategy and wisdom, Ares represents the explosive, uncontrolled nature of war where reason is drowned out by rage. On the battlefield, his every step seems to shake the earth. His red eyes seem to burn with bloodlust. As an immortal god, Ares knows no fear of death. His body cannot be harmed by mortal weapons, allowing him to charge into the midst of the enemy encirclement like a tornado of steel and blood. Ares' power lies not only in his muscles and superior fighting skills, but also in his ability to directly impact the psychology of others. In his rage, Ares is like a never-ending flame of war, burning everything in his path. Ares is as powerful as our blind and savage rage. Athena is the strategy of war, but Ares is the desire to fight. He is an instinctive, primal force that can drive heroes like Hector and Aeneas to the most courageous feats. Yet he also leaves heroes extremely vulnerable and vulnerable, because in his aggressive attack, in his rage, he lacks the ability to defend himself properly. Ares is a warrior who does not know how to defend himself properly. He is all punching, all rushing, a clumsy, reckless energy, so intense in the moment that it fails to see what is going on around him. Fury is blind in the sense that it lacks scope, objectivity, or detachment, and these good qualities, so beloved of the Greeks, so evident in figures like Athena, can prove invaluable in battle. So, with a little ingenuity, a little distance, and a little cunning, Ares is easy to defeat. How powerful is Ares? Very powerful. He is an Olympian. As Zeus said in the Iliad, Ares is the image of his mother, Hera's unbridled rage. But he can be tamed. Ares has experienced some of the most humiliating moments in Olympus's history. He was once captured by the giants and imprisoned in a giant jar for 13 months, where darkness and isolation became invisible chains. Even Zeus, the mighty father, did not hide his contempt, once bluntly calling him the most hated child. On the battlefield of Troy, Ares fell twice to Athena, the goddess of wisdom and strategy. He chose to side with the Trojans, but his lack of control contributed to their bitter defeat. In other confrontations, Ares was defeated by Heracles, and was completely outwitted and suppressed by Hephaestus. Behind that series of failures, if Ares was really just a weak and useless person, would he have become the focus of scorn, ridicule, and criticism for thousands of years from both gods and humans? Perhaps it was because of his strength and nature that was so different that he became the object of both fear and contempt. Ares' presence always caused opposite reactions. One part wanted to see him fail, but the other part could not take their eyes off his ferocious aura and hidden power. In the ocean of power of Olympus, Ares was not only a sower of chaos, but also a mirror reflecting the primal conflicts between brute force and the elite intelligence of a god who was rejected but never forgotten. Ares mastered all kinds of weapons, from swords, spears, shields, to fierce melee attack. In Greek mythology, he was known as the bringer of death, the one who defeated the giants, although the nature of war was never praised by the gods. When circumstances forced him to reveal his cruel nature, Ares proved his fearsomeness by destroying the giants, defeating the titans, killing countless warriors and even punishing the son of Poseidon to protect the honor of his daughter. Ares' power is on par with any of the second-generation gods except Athena, and can completely confront great names such as Hermes, Apollo, Artemis, or Dionysus. His presence on the battlefield is like a fiery storm, both bringing down enemies and igniting the fighting spirit of Allah. Ares, with his never-ending desire for power and conflict, always seeks to incite conflicts, sow hatred, and manipulate the will of people to serve his plans. In the eyes of many heroes, Ares is not only a dangerous opponent, but also the source of great disasters. Especially for Wonder Woman, who has repeatedly stopped his ambitions, Ares easily killed Highfather Isaiah of the New Gods, a feat that shows his power far beyond the standards of the gods. There was a time when Ares came close to conquering all of Olympus, only to be stopped by the combined forces of all the gods there. When Hercules defeated the son of Vulcan, who was granted power by the Roman pantheon, that feat was nothing compared to what Ares had accomplished. He was completely immune to Medusa's petrifying gaze, which had once brought Wonder Woman to her knees. Not stopping there, Ares created genocide from Wonder Woman's own corpse in the future, turning it into a terrifying weapon that spread terror across the battlefield. Ares' power cannot be measured by numbers or simple comparisons. It is a blend of divine power, cunning intelligence, and a primal bloodlust. He created a world that Zeus could not reach. Ares could also become stronger with devastating attack. His superhuman strength was greater than most of the gods on Mount Olympus, able to lift about 70 tons, equivalent to the lifting power of his two uncles, Hades and Poseidon Aegeus, and was surpassed by his father Zeus and half-brother Hercules. His skin, muscles, and bones are 3 times thicker than those of a normal human. He has burned himself to become a living ball of fire. Although divine weapons such as Mjolnir, which is capable of shattering mountains, have been shown to be able to harm him, he has limited magical abilities such as sensing the presence of other gods and demons, being able to summon weapons from Olympus, summon other gods, and teleport to Olympus and Earth at will. Although he is not proficient in magic, he recreated Olympus after being wounded by Kynos in battle. He can also project an image of himself to communicate with others from a distance. It is assumed that he is truly immortal, like all Olympian gods, having not aged since adulthood and being immune to all effects of aging. He is also immune to all diseases and infections on Earth, but he was killed by the Void, but revived by the Collector. He possesses the accelerated regeneration healing factor. Like all other Olympic gods, he can be injured, but when injured, he can regenerate damaged or destroyed tissue with superhuman speed and efficiency. If injured, he can fully recover from penetrating wounds in a period of time ranging from a few minutes to a few hours, depending on the severity of the injury. He is incapable of regenerating lost limbs or organs without the help of external magical forces. Ares has the incredible power to cause war and chaos on a very large scale, from a city to an entire continent. With this power, he has complete control over the city or continent that is in war and chaos at that time. I really hope you subscribe to the channel, it helps us a lot and you are the best, thank you very much. Gorr is an alien who lives on a planet on the brink of extinction, and his race worships the gods. But Gorr hates the gods, has killed millions, and his goal is to kill them all. Gorr the God Butcher is the nightmare of the entire godly realm, a warrior whose power is said to surpass even Odin at his peak. And by the time of Thor in 2024, Gorr possesses the power of this thunder god, even surpassing Hela, the goddess of death, both in destructiveness and cruelty. In a dramatic battle, Gorr used his own power to keep Thor and Stormbreaker from the fierce suction of the Bifrost, while trying to seize the weapon with the dark tendrils emitted from the Necrosword. He also fought mighty Thor head-on, taking the destructive weight of Mjolnir and deflecting the fatal blow. Gorr's power stems from the Necrosword, a black sword imbued with the primal energy of darkness, something that even Zeus, lord of the city of omnipotence and the leader of the most powerful gods in the universe, feared. With this weapon, Gorr slew Falagar the Behemoth, a titan who was said to be able to wrestle black holes for fun. Gorr's presence seemed to drag the very fabric of space into an abyss. The sky darkened, light was swallowed up, and his every step echoed like a death knell. The Necrosword in his hand was not just a weapon, but a scythe of fate, capable of ending the existence of any god who dared stand in his way. For those who witnessed his actions, the memory never faded, for Gorr not only killed the gods, he destroyed their belief in immortality. At the height of his power, Gorr, the God Butcher, accomplished a feat few would have dared to imagine, simultaneously confronting and defeating three versions of Thor: the fiery young Thor, the Avenger Thor in his prime, and the old King Thor, the elder god who wielded the Thor Force, also known as the Odin Force, a power surpassing even Odin's. Before becoming the terror of the entire divine world, Gorr was just a mortal. His fate changed when he found the All-Black the Necrosword from the unconscious Knull, the creator of the symbiote. With this weapon, Gorr began his journey to slay countless gods across the stars. All-Black was not just a blade, but a symbiotic entity created after Knull beheaded a celestial. With each god it slew, the blade's power grew, and when Gorr became its host, it transformed him into a being capable of overpowering even the mightiest of gods. This union allowed Gorr to not only face, but surpass the immortal warriors the universe had once worshipped. Gorr once witnessed a battle between the Golden God and Knull, the god of the symbiotes. The Golden God begged for help, but Gorr coldly refused, for in his eyes the gods had never reached out to save men. The Black Blade was later stained with blood once more when Gorr slew Falagar the Behemoth, a titan known for his pastime of wrestling black holes. Gorr the God Butcher, in his thirst for blood and power, not only hunted the gods, but also reshaped them. He created his own planet, a fortress of darkness where every mountain and river was stained with gloom. From there, Gorr launched fragments of the moon, turning them into giant bullets that shot through the void to attack Thor. Even old King Thor, the god who had wounded Galactus in battle, had to admit that Gorr was one of the most terrible and ruthless enemies he had ever faced. Death is rarely the end. Only a few names like Uncle Ben, Martha and Thomas Wayne, Nora Gwen Stacy, or Marvel really did not return. Thor wasn't so lucky, because Gorr wasn't on that list. Thanks to the calculating personal vendetta of Loki, who had always sought to overthrow Thor, Gorr had re-emerged stronger and more dangerous than ever. The darkness of the Necrosword covered the sky, and his powers seemed to have surpassed anything Thor had ever witnessed. In a paradoxical turn of events, Thor and Loki were forced to put aside their hatred and join forces to fight against a colossal threat. After the Thunder God incident in Jason Aaron's story, the surviving gods put aside their grudges and joined forces to end the oppression they had once suffered. That united force finally defeated Gorr, and he fell once again. At first glance, it seemed like the end for the Butcher who had once terrorized the divine world. But the truth was not so simple. When his physical body was destroyed, Gorr did not disappear. He merged with the All-Black, becoming the pure embodiment of darkness. That darkness seeped into every corner of existence, as if the universe was being devoured from within. Gorr's army of black berserkers, though small compared to their master, still possessed terrible power. They were able to overwhelm old King Thor, impaling him and leaving him bleeding in the middle of battle. This fact became even more chilling when one remembered that old King Thor was more powerful than Odin, the god of hyperversal power, who had extinguished Surtur's flames with absolute force, also felt the weight of death hanging over his shoulders. In that moment, life and death were only a stroke away. Surtur's flames were powerful enough to destroy Yggdrasil, which contained countless worlds, making it infinite in size. These worlds were actually universes, which easily turned Odin into a multiverse. And do you know what happened to all of them? Young, Avenger, and King Thor? They were defeated by Gorr the God Butcher, even after Gorr was thrown into a fucking star and forced to endure its heat, as the symbiote's weakness is heat. This easily makes Gorr far superior to Thor. Gorr easily reaches extra-dimensional levels of power. He would be a huge threat to Godzilla. Gorr alone has superior offensive power, possesses the god-killing sword, enough to defeat Thor, who exists in a multiverse where atoms are infinite in size. Gorr is a superior being, and would certainly be an extremely powerful and dangerous threat to Godzilla. Gorr is also shown to be quite durable. He took a punch from young Thor that created a singularity and escaped its gravitational pull. If not, you should know that Gorr wiped out the entire city of Almighty, the meeting place of the gods of all the temples in the future version of the universe, along with Asgard, with King Thor being the only survivor whom he wanted to keep alive so that he could watch every god die under his watch. Gorr's power should be obvious. When Aries and Gorr face off, the contrast between their fighting styles becomes as stark as light and shadow. Aries enters the fray with the air of a god born to rule the battlefield. He moves like a storm of steel, taking advantage of every opening to close in, delivering devastating blows with sword, spear, and shield. Aries' strategy revolves around overwhelming his opponent with reaction time, direct force, and the ability to shake morale. He seeks to stir up anger and fear, distracting his foes before delivering the finishing blow. Gorr takes a completely different approach. He uses the flexibility of the Necrosword, turning darkness into a weapon for both ranged and melee combat. Black tendrils coil around Gorr like snakes, blocking and counterattacking from all directions. He avoids engaging Aries head-on for too long, instead constantly shifting his position, drawing his opponent into unbalanced situations. Every time Aries poured his strength into a strike, Gorr used the darkness to absorb the force, then counterattacked with slashes powerful enough to tear apart the divine armor. Aries sought to break through the darkness defenses, forcing Gorr to fight at close range, where his melee skills had the advantage. In contrast, Gorr patiently wore down his opponent's stamina, waiting for the moment when Aries' rage turned to impatience, then delivered the finishing blow. In the pitch black sky, the lightning of the divine blade and the black light of the Necrosword clashed, creating rays of light that tore through the night. The black blade absorbed the light, releasing an evil energy that enveloped the entire battlefield, each slash carrying the weight of hundreds of fallen divine lives. Aries, despite being a god of war with terrible strength and unparalleled melee skills, was faced with an opponent who was not only physically durable, but also possessed a weapon capable of piercing divine immortality. Gorr's determination to destroy the entire god realm makes him fearless, willing to endure damage just to land a fatal blow. Gorr will likely prevail due to his ability to kill gods and absorb their power, giving him a significant advantage over Aries. And Gorr is the winner. I hope you enjoyed this fight. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Follow me if you like. That's it for today's video. Thanks a lot.